So we will do one time Guru Yoga. From the crown of my head, palace of great bliss, I pray to you, benevolent Root Lama. O precious one, grant me the blessings to recognize my own true nature as a Buddha. So, welcome everybody. I'm very happy, and I'm here in São Paulo in Brazil, and I wanted to thank Brazilian Sangha to helping accommodating this live webcast and just doing a lot of logistic things here. So very happy to do this webcast from here. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the background of the Enlightened Leadership Workshop. So first, to talk a little bit about what I mean by Enlightened Leadership, and especially those who are listening first time. And all of you know this is for ongoing webcasts for next 5 months more. So what I mean by enlightened leadership is that in some sense that in all our life, as we evolve in a spiritual development, as we are trying to practice, learn, reflect, and practice and grow more, at some point in our life, I think we all feel that some sense trying to help other, like serving other. And of course, that is also the purpose of any spiritual practice. But not only like people who are following specific spiritual tradition, but everybody, I think, some point in life, we wanted to be helpful for others. A mother wanted to be a good mother to help child, or husband wanted to be a good husband to a wife and the family, and families wanted to be good to each other. And so just basically we wanted to help someone, either it's one individual, or it's a family, it's a group of community that you are part of, or it's a social service that you believe in, or it's like you are professional field where you are many different people that you are encounter with. You still wanted to do and serve something, but somehow in the process of doing that, we always face challenges. And so whenever we face challenges, we are not able to fully serve somebody. So this is always becomes difficult and obstacle for all of us. So in that sense, the enlightened leadership here I'm talking is that helping somebody and also making that part of your own spiritual practice. I think combining these two things together, I see it's really, really very important. And so saying that, so for example, every person might look at service and helping somebody, but specifically from the point of view of Dharma, point of view of more like a spiritual angle from that side, if you look at that, it comes down to two very specific qualities. So that's what I'm saying, wisdom and compassion in enlightened leadership. So for example, this concept of wisdom and concept of compassion is something that every people hear it, every people might have reflected on it, every people might some point trying to understand fully, but maybe it's something maybe not that easy to fully understand what wisdom and compassion means. So I wanted to explain that a little bit, and particularly and this time here, this second live webcast has something to do with the wisdom. So first of all, what is wisdom here? So what is wisdom? I will talk a little bit from the point of view of traditional point of view, like from Sutric tradition or in Tantric tradition or Dzogchen tradition, like the tradition of great perfection. In all these three traditions, one thing it's in common is wisdom means like a realization or understanding of selflessness. For example, in the sutra, we'll say the emptiness or shunyata. So shunyata and emptiness, what does that mean? It means lack of inherent existence of self. I know it's becoming a little bit philosophical, but I do have to cover this concept a little bit before we go further. So lack of inherent self is what is known as emptiness, and realization of lack of inherent self is what we call wisdom. So wisdom is what understanding of selflessness is known as a wisdom. That's like I think it's in the Sutric tradition, in Tantric tradition, in the Dzogchen tradition, there's different ways, different details, but in the end, it has something to do with that. So something to do with selflessness. And so in the service, the relationship in the service, why that selflessness is very important. Because if you look at any situation in our life, so let's think about this way. Right now, this moment in your life, think about that. You are trying to be helpful, either to yourself, like that you are working with yourself, trying to connect with yourself, or trying to find yourself, just basically trying to help yourself, or more, you're trying to help another individual, could be your husband, wife, friends, partner, your child, you're trying to help somebody, or it could be that you are part of community, that what you really believe in more than your profession, that you're trying to bring your service, your skill into that community to benefit the community, or you are like I said earlier, that you are trying to bring a sense of positive energy into your workplace. You are trying to be helpful at your workplace. Just think about. But I wanted you to look a place where you are facing challenge, that it's difficult to help. So many times I know like many students who is trying to help older parents, for example, are facing challenges. Yes, I want everybody for a moment to close your eye, to look at your situation, that you are trying to be helpful to somebody and you are facing challenges. And particularly a service to others. You're trying to be helpful to service for others, and you are facing challenges in that situation. Just reflect that for a moment. Maybe you are feeling frustration, disappointment, anger, hopelessness. But whatever you are experiencing, recognize this. This is the moment to recognize it. Not criticize it, not judge it, to recognize it. That in real life, in real situation, you are experiencing this, and during this live webcast meditation, we are supporting each other to be conscious of that, acknowledge that, respect that. Now you look closely, who is feeling challenge, upset, angry? Typically, like a fear. There's a fear in you who is upset, who is angry. Or there is a doubt in you who is insecure. So the bottom line is, it comes down to a self identity or pain identity. Pain identity means either is associated with the fear, it's associated with the doubt, anger, one of these emotions. Just recognize that. That pain identity is what you are really identifying, probably generally in your life, very frequently. That's the place from where you are living. That is the place where you are looking from. That is the place where you are connecting with. That is the place where you are making decisions. That is the place where you are trying to help and serve others also. And that is the reason maybe you're not having so much success. And that has something to do with that self. And so in order to really able to help, instead of trying to fix the situation or trying to fix somebody, you have to acknowledge yourself, the root. In some sense, that sense of self, fear identity of fear or pain has to be overcome, has to be liberated, has to be transcended. That's what needed to happen. And of course, through the practice, when that happens, of course, there's a sutric, tantric, many different ways, many different approach to overcome that selflessness. In the sutric tradition, is we say like dark myth, the emptiness of phenomena, emptiness of person or self. So somehow that self has to be overcome. So in a more like approaches of the Dzogchen, you have to recognize that a full and clear recognition of that pain self. And when you recognize and when you rest, it slowly, it weakens, it dissolves, and you're able to rest deep in yourself. And when you rest deep in yourself, that means you have that some sense of selflessness, a moment of selflessness, a moment of that feeling of sacred space, a moment where you feel totally free and feeling very open. And not only you feel that, but there is a presence and a recognition of that sacred space in you. That is the wisdom. That is the wisdom. And that wisdom might be not, you might not be enough stable in it, because this is maybe the first time when you are practicing like that, you're recognizing it. And as I'm explaining these things, for many people it makes sense. For many people it might not make sense at all. Or for many people intellectually it makes sense, but experientially have no clue. But it's something like that happens. It's doable. I have done it, and many people can do it. I'm sure many of you who is listening to here, you have done it too. When you are able to see that, dissolve that, overcome from that, finding that space in yourself, and from that unbounded sacred space, you become alive, awaken. You begin to see from that place, act from that place, and your service quality becomes totally different. So let me clarify one thing here. This notion of wisdom, of course, some of you who have been in the teaching, like in following Dzogchen teaching, Buddhist teachings for a long time, you might think, which I completely agree with you, is that, oh, this wisdom, the whole concept of wisdom is so complicated, it's so high, there's no way that ordinary people can understand. Probably you're right. But who is ordinary people? You look at the right person, you think this right person is ordinary person, and the left person is ordinary person. Maybe you think you are more special, that you might understand, but this right and left person will not understand. Forget about the one who is divine, who is already making some noises. It doesn't look like it has a wisdom. You cannot judge like that. You don't know who is capable and who is not capable. And generally speaking, who follow very strong, rich sense of tradition, sometimes there's a sense of like a judgment saying it's very hard, not everybody can understand. That means not all of you can understand except me and my friends. It doesn't work like that. So I don't believe in that. I believe in you don't know who is there in the crowd. It doesn't matter how long they have been following teaching or not, how much they intellectually know or not, or how many transmissions, initiation they have received or not. It really does not matter in that. It just matters if people are internally mature enough and prepared enough for this moment of awakening, to hear it, to listen and make that this makes sense to this person this very moment, and it's able to transcend that pain identity for a moment. That's all what matters. So I don't think none of us in the place of judging anybody. So this is like a open for everybody. So, and I in my Facebook page, and those you have those who you are my friend, which is Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. Yesterday or the day before, I shared a little video clip that I saw of Oprah Winfrey, that everybody knows. and I saw that video, and I liked that video because one of the things that I liked it is the language in which the way language she uses, and a very human place, and language is very ordinary, but also some of the languages that she uses, it just sounded like all the words, the vocabulary that I use in more explaining more formal teachings, more traditional and formal teachings that I explain. I use those terms, like talking about being still, talking about being silence, talking about being open, and this. So these simple languages, and something I think I think it's very important what she's saying, that there are in one of the things that she was successful in doing what she does in a show for 25 years is her ability to connect with people. She connected with the people. She spoke the language of the people. She felt the people. She basically that connection, and that's what that connection what made her successful. And I also kind of admire very much her, as in the middle of the success, she's able to say enough is enough. I've done it. Now it's time to go. It's not like a kind of holding on something forever. That is something that you can never hold on for something forever. The ability to let go, it's incredible. So anyway, I use that. I just want people to watch it. Then it's the language that she uses, and the language that I use is very much talking about wisdom, for example. But of course, one of the reasons I'm trying to talk this is because there's a differences in ordinary. I'm not saying, let's say this way, I'm not saying Oprah is ordinary, or I'm not saying anybody who talks like Oprah in expressing their own experiences of life, and how they connect with people, how they deal with the challenges, how they overcome challenge, how they succeed transcending everything, and the language they use not necessarily mean that all those people have experience of Rigpa, experiences of pure awareness. I'm not saying that, but they have something in common. That's what I'm trying to say. She might use the word openness, or she might use the word a being human. That being might be very different the way I use word being. She might use the sense of being open to that moment, might mean differently in this cycle of teaching, but there is something in common. That's what I think is interesting. I think it's interesting to discuss. So not to undermine these simple words that really touches us. Metaphors, words. These simple words in the metaphor might not directly correspond to these higher philosophical, very deep-rooted knowledge, but there is a connection there, and those connection is our path. Those connection, we need to define those connection so that it makes sense to you this moment in your life, and those connection will help you. So I know, as a teacher, teaching over 25 years, I know so many people in Dharma who are interested in very intellectual concepts. Harder it is, the more interested they are. It doesn't mean they connect with anything, but somehow they're interested. I understand. I mean, I'm not saying you should not have intellectual curiosity. I do have. But there got to be a balance. You have to learn, but everything you learn, in the end of the day, it has to make sense to you in your life. If they don't make sense to you in your life, no matter who the teacher is, no matter what the tradition is, no matter what they're teaching, it's not helping you because it's not making sense to you. It got to make sense to you. And those language are helpful. So I think I would recommend to look at them and trying to see their connection to wisdom, that what I'm talking here. So now going back to this sense of wisdom, and going back to this idea of that what you're trying to do in a community, because I know, like as a teacher and as you know, around the world, I'm traveling around the world, teaching around the world, and there's many of our community, spiritual community around the world, all the places in every country, we have very similar challenges. I mean, this is my personal experiences. I don't mean saying that these problems and these challenges happens only in a spiritual community. It happens to everywhere, in every community, and even every single family happened. But I know a situation in Dharma groups, spiritual communities. And one of the very common spiritual community challenges is because everybody come with their heart, volunteering the job, working. They come. And one of the main challenges is personalities of people. And people come with a very good intention. They really wanted to help. But people end up in the wrong places. The struggle, conflict, pain, judgment, sometimes even to the teaching, to the teacher, to the community. It's very, very sad. So situations like that, sometimes I wish they did not serve. They just practice. They do not came to serve because they could not serve well. But they could maybe a good practitioner long enough then to serve. I just give one example. A good example is a friend of mine, is a French monk who went to a Mandarin monastery to serve there, and so I'm very curious, and I said, how is it? I can kind of see a little, his age is a little different than the rest of the group there, the monks who's living there many years, not speaking enough Tibetan to really communicate with the other monks. And maybe this is my thought was, coming from the West, going to the monastery, having higher expectations of the monks. The monks should never get angry and very peaceful and always kind. Monks are human beings. So I said, how do you find it? Is it not difficult to always in this kind of situation? And he responded me in a beautiful way I will never forget. He said, I'm here not to be entertained. I can be entertained in France. I'm here not to eat good food. In India, that's dal bhat, rice and a lentil every other day. That's not that entertaining food. I could have 350 different cheeses every day in France. It's not about the food. It's not about entertainment. I came here to serve His Holiness. So every day I serve. That's my meaning of my life there. So serve His Holiness. It was very powerful. I came to serve His Holiness. That's what I've been doing for all these years. And that's the meaning. So, of course, you can imagine, in order to say that, it's not easy to say that. You have to let go of yourself to feel that way, that you're completely give yourself toward somebody that you trust, you believe. So clearly there is some sense of selflessness. The self who need power, the self who need acknowledgement, the self who need authority, the self who need entertainment. No, that self is given up. There is a selflessness of serving someone or group or collective purpose. That is the meaning of life. Somebody sees that. That's beautiful. So I never forget that. I'm just telling this story because this story means a lot. In the same way, like when we moved into Virginia, before we started our center, I wanted to make sure that my neighbors are, okay with moving there. And one of the person who I met there, a neighbor, and who is practicing Sikh practice, and he said he was in working high in the government, and just very like a, how you say, typical Westerner, and like all those things, But he said, I went to India and in a Golden Temple, and I asked him. I said, "Oh, you went to Golden Temple? That's great." So at least I thought, okay, I have some good neighbors here, And then he said, "What did you do there?" He said, "I wake up every morning, 4 a.m, and clean the floor of the Golden Temple." I said, "Yes, I have a good neighbor who has been in terms of the power, in a lot of gain of power, but who just went there to clean the floor of the temple." To clean the floor of temple, you need to have some selflessness. So the definition of wisdom, or practices of abiding in the nature of mind, definition of the wisdom is some level of realization of lack of inherent existence. Sounds very intellectual. Lack of self or selflessness. But selflessness not in a depressing way. It's a liberating way. I don't have to control. I don't have to control this. I don't have to control this group. I don't have to control this situation. I don't have to control this person. I don't have to control this feeling. I don't have to control anybody. I don't have to even control. How I can control it? I cannot control even my feeling. I don't know what thought is going to come next moment. I don't have a choice. So a trusting, a letting go who is controlling it, trusting the right thing might happen if you hold a trust that sacred space, or trust that a sense of stillness and silence. That's the wisdom. Again, wisdom, it's very specific term in the teaching. So you might not have exact that experience. As I said earlier, And whatever Oprah was saying, that she is trusting. She said exactly the word. That's why I was very interested. She said stillness. She said that silence. She was saying that I don't believe in a luck. I believing and trusting in what I meant to do. Trusting that openness, what is coming next, being totally prepared for the next moment, to be tapping in. Because next moment in life is like an opportunity, incredible opportunity arises. Every single moment in your life, incredible opportunity arises. And people who are successful, they tap into those opportunities all the time. It's more interesting than getting stuck in their own pain and history and stories. They're ready for that open moment, next event that has something so much to give and enrich your life. That's kind of more what she's saying. I'm trying to make it more kind of my way, but that's more what she was saying. In Dzogchen teaching, it says, Chöpa Lukpa, means a flexible behavior. That means if you remain in that space, if you trust that space, if you're open and connected with that next moment, the infinite possibility is there. Because all what is perfected in you will arise when you hold a space. All what is perfected in you cannot manifest if you're stuck in your stories and pain. They cannot come because somebody got to see them. Many times things come right in front of your life and you don't see it because you're too busy looking at the old story. So wisdom, or being open to those moments, it's very similar. So the concept of wisdom, why wisdom is important, so important in service, is, as I'm talking this, because of course, I'm not saying that I don't have the self. Of course I have a self. Of course I have a self pain. Of course I have everything what you have. And I'm not just saying it, I'm officially saying it, that I have everything what you have. But I'm very open, willing, and committed to explore and overcome those things. I wish it's faster than I am, but I'm not giving up that. And I'm trying to, every decisions that I make in my life, I'm trying to make those decisions as much as possible from that openness and from that selflessness. Even sometimes self is still there and it's not agreeing, but I even trying to talk to that self. Talking anytime when you have to talk with somebody is not good, right? When somebody says, oh, we needed to talk, it's not a good sign, right? So when you don't have to talk, it's spontaneously, that's how you feel and that's how it's coming out of you, and it's a great. So that is wisdom. So in services, anytime you're trying to, when I say services, it doesn't always have to be like a big deal leadership. I don't mean that. Anything you're trying to do. A mother truly wanted to be helpful to your child. Help and facing challenge. Or a child who is really wanting to help mother and facing challenge. And one time, somebody told me, she said, oh, I've been practicing warrior seed syllable for 6 months because I have some challenging relationship with my mother. And after 6 months of practice, she still hasn't changed. And she really, when she said that, she was very genuine. And of course, when she said that, there was a group of people, everybody couldn't control laughter. Everybody smiled and laughed, and she looked around. She said, "Why are they laughing?" And it looks like she got it, why they are laughing. She officially announced that we secretly do that way. We do that way. Because if you don't do that way, then you will not have the challenge with your mother or your child. We expect others to change all the time. For me, of course, sometimes I expect others to change. But I know in deep inside me, what I wish to say is, may I have strength enough to never expect no one to change. Change myself. And I know many times when I witness changing myself in a challenging relationship with somebody, I saw changes in that person. I saw changes in those situations without saying anything, without doing anything, but feeling the changes in myself. I began to notice. So in service, the question is who? For example, if you are trying to help somebody, and particularly you are facing challenges, then try to say, who is trying to help? Let's say this way, I enter into a group, or I enter into a relationship, and I'm trying to help the situation. Who is trying to help? Somebody who is lonely, who needs friends? Maybe that's not the best place to find a friend, you know. In those places, you have to do a lot of work. In service, we do a lot of work, day and night. You have to kind of let go of yourself, many aspects of yourself, your family, your own interests. You have to let go of many things. Not a good place to do that. You enter into that place because you need a power. It's the wrong place to find a power. A spiritual community is the wrong place to find a power. Run for the president or the mayor. We enter into this spiritual community in order to give up our power. That's the whole purpose. Not to gain power. Wrong place. So who is entering there to service? And it doesn't matter. Maybe somebody who wanted to seek a little power, some acknowledgement, some friends. Yeah, it's okay. But as long as you are conscious, as long as you are aware, as long as you are watching it, as long as it's not making every decision, some decision, it's okay, but not every decision. So it's important to address who is doing, why you're doing that. What is the purpose? Why are you trying to help? Why are you trying to help this person? Why are you trying to help this family? Why are you trying to help this group? Why are you trying to help somebody? Is it coming from that open space? Is it coming from that selflessness or minimum expectations? Or it is coming from full driven of pain, self. identity of pain, full seeking for power, totally unconscious and unaware of that, and finding conflicts and not able to see anything around. Is that who? Is that why you're doing it? So it's important to recognize, because initially we all have a good intention, even though you go back in the beginning saying, why in the first place I enter here to serve. That was my initial intention. I have a collective purpose. I remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it's remember, as a service, I think it's important to remember who is doing, why you're doing. Are you doing continuously with the same goal and purpose? Have you not lost that original purpose, collective purpose? Are you doing from right space, from right awareness? Because if you are, I am guarantee you, you will serve much better. So sometimes the question is why we are not able to do that. Why it's so difficult to do it from the right space? Why it's so difficult to do things effortlessly? Why it's so difficult to do things playfully? Why it's so difficult to do with so much with joy, enthusiasm, playfulness? Because we are stuck in that pain identity. And we don't know a better place. We don't have a better place in ourself, a connection to ourself in a better way. That's the only place we are familiar. Our pain is only most familiar place we know. And that's where we live, that's where we see things from, that's where we act from. From that place, we clearly, it seems like wants so much more, like a self-grasping and wanting more than the giving. We are very very familiar receiving. We are not that much familiar giving. We are familiar with the joy of receiving something. We are less familiar a joy of giving something. I'm not saying giving in a sense of like monetary things or something like that. I'm saying joy of giving something which is difficult to give. Giving a space to somebody. Giving a space to somebody to get angry at you. It's joyful. I'm so happy today because I was totally open to this person who was completely mad on me. I gave this person a space. I was able to give this person a space. I felt a space in myself. I'm so happy. So sense of all the qualities that, usually the ego wants, like a giving a power to somebody. It could be joy. Opening to somebody rather than being close. You're close to anybody is not fun. But knowing that I wanted to open to somebody, I wanted to give that openness to somebody, it's a joy. Serving somebody, not always wanted to be served, it's a joy. Giving somebody, not always wanted to receive, it's a joy. So the joy that we usually what we fear in our life, that it might change my life, I might lose something, it might affect my lifestyle. No, it's kind of opposite. That you begin to see when you feel the inner strength, inner confidence, when you see the power of the selflessness, the freedom of the selflessness, you are not afraid of these things. You are able to give so many things what ego is afraid of giving, but as a result of giving, you are, how you say, enrich so much your experiences of life. Not only experiences of your life, but also in your all the experience, spiritual experiences, because this somehow the act of bodhisattva, caring other people, it coming from that place of selflessness. I'm not saying that it's so easy to be selfless. No, not at all. Don't misunderstand me. But I'm saying that power is in there. Power is not when you're trying to rule, your life is ruled by that ego and pain. Power is there when it manifesting effortlessly, spontaneously from that selflessness, trusting that space. We might not have fully understanding now. At least be curious about it. I don't know what he's talking about, but sounds interesting.